Welcome to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Education Board.
Hello students, a very warm welcome to the TV learning programs or episodes. I'm your biology teacher, Herbert, and I will be taking you the biology of senior 2, unit 12. And so the unit title is the infectious diseases. Lesson 2, defense against infection. So last time we talked about infectious diseases, how diseases are transmitted from one person to another person. We talked about transmission through the blood transfusion. We talked about airborne diseases. We talked about waterborne diseases. All these are the ways how diseases can be transmitted from one person to another person. And I mentioned that some of the diseases can be transmitted either in direct contact or direct contact. So let's start our lesson, and welcome to the lesson. So before we start our lesson, I would like to let you get a pen and a notebook, and we start our lesson, and so that we can note some important concepts and even ideas concerning about that lesson of today. So the lesson has learning objectives, almost 2 learning objectives that we're going to be discussing in that lesson of today. After studying this lesson, what do you expect? What students should be able to understand? Objective number 1 is to explain how the body defense mechanism can be enhanced by vaccination. Able to describe or to explain, you describe and explain types of immunity. What is immunity? I know some of you know that there are some of the immunity that you are born with. There is also a form of immunity that you also acquire through vaccination or immunization. So let's start the lesson. So what is immunity? Let me just give you a short time to think what is immunity. What do you understand by immunity? Immunity is the ability of the body to resist disease infections. The ability of the body to resist the disease infection is referred to as immunity. This means that a person can be exposed to factors that can cause disease, yet they don't become sick. That's why you can be exposed to some of the disease-causing agent, but you don't get sick. That's what brings that. It is brought by what we call immunity. The body's defense mechanism protects an organism from the infections. So the body has the ability to defend against infection or disease-causing agent. In the previous lesson, I talked about a pathogen. What are pathogens? I think everybody knows what are pathogens. Pathogens are disease-causing agents. Any microorganism that can cause a disease is referred to as a pathogen. We talked about bacteria. We talked about viruses. As you know, these days, the whole world is having a problem of COVID-19, coronavirus, which is an airborne disease. It is spread through air. All right? When you're in contact with a person, you can get infected. So the body, or these diseases caused by bacteria, viruses, protozoa, can be protected by the body. And that's how the body defends itself against diseases is referred to as immunity. So if a person do not encounter resistance from the body's defense mechanism, almost all diseases would be fatal. If the disease could come and enter into our body, and they don't find our body or our body soldiers, take an example, there must be a line of defense that defends the body against those infections, defending the body against pathogen, disease-causing agent. If they don't encounter this line of defense, all diseases could be fatal, could be very dangerous. So organism finds a way of defending themselves against disease-causing agent. So these disease-causing agents they are fatal, and organs must find a way of defending themselves against harmful microorganisms like viruses, bacteria, and even fungi. So once the disease-causing agent, bacteria, enters into your body, there must be a line of defense. Viruses enters into the body, there must be a line of defense. However, some of the viruses, they do what we call adaptive features. They adapt and become more resistant to some of the defense mechanism of the body. And you find the defense mechanism of the body is not strong enough to weaken the disease-causing agent. And that one needs for either you get what you call drugs or tablets, because some of the bacteria or some of the disease-causing agent, they become more strong and resist the body immune system. At the end, they weaken the body immune system. So when we talk about the body has many ways of defending itself from invasion, the body has very many ways of defending any invasion of harmful microorganisms. Some of these defense mechanisms are made in a way to become a barrier for the pathogen from entering into our body. So when pathogen comes into our body, what happens? There must be a line of defense. There must be a block. There must be a barrier that prevents those harmful microorganisms not to enter into our body and cause a disease. So other mechanisms eliminate pathogens that are already in our body. Some they have entered into our body, they have passed from the first line of defense, because the first line of defense, we have the skin. That's why the skin is acting as the first line of defense. They don't penetrate into the skin, but once they get a chance of penetrating into the skin, there's also another line of defense that can be able to eliminate this pathogen that has already entered into our body. So there are also a defense mechanism that attacking microorganisms once they enter into their body, because we talked about types of what are the major components of blood. We talked about there is plasma, there is platelets, red blood cells, white blood cells, what you call WBC. The WBC, white blood cells, or sometimes they are called lymphocytes, they are responsible to fight the disease-causing agent that has entered into our body, that is attacking microorganisms when they persist inside the body. When they keep persisting into the body can produce what you call white blood cells. And these white blood cells, they are able to attack microorganisms when they persist into the body. The ability of the body to prevent itself from a disease using its line of defense is referred to as resistance. When you don't resist to disease, you become sick. But once the body has the ability to prevent itself from the disease using its line of defense is called resistance. Body defense mechanisms can be either the first line of defense or the second line of defense. I said there is first line of defense and second line of defense. As I mentioned it earlier, the first line of defense is the skin. The second line of defense is involving the white blood cells, is involving some of hydrochloric acid that are found in our stomach. Not only that, there's also what we call antibodies. These are also the second line of defense that protects our body, that attacks these microorganisms that has persisted and entered into our body. So let's first with the body first line of defense. What is the first body line of defense is made up of what? I said there is first line of defense, second line of defense, and even in some books they mention about the third line of defense. But today we're going to discuss the first line of defense and second line of defense. Student, what do you think of the first line of defense? This is a line of defense that prevents harmful microorganisms from entering into the body. I mentioned about the skin, and most of these, it is external defense system of the body. The external defense system of the body is carried out by the skin. It includes physical and chemical defense lines. Chemically, and even some of the, you have ever seen some of the skin, they produce some of the mucus, and once the bacteria comes and they are going to be killed by those chemical substances produced by the skin. Physically, the skin also plays a role of defending the body against disease-causing agents, pathogens. The body does this using virus barriers that can intercept microorganisms, hence preventing them from entering into the body. So let's talk about the skin. I talked about chemicals produced by the body. These can be the first line of defense. We talked about the skin. We talked about chemicals produced and etc. Let me just have the diagram. You see, that is the diagram, and you can try to see this is a human. The body, first line of defense. The body's first line of defense mechanism. We have all these parts, the eyes, the ears, the skin. This is the chest, the stomach. All these are very important to be the first line of defense, because the ear can be the first line of defense. The eye can also be the first line of defense. Examples of the body defense mechanism includes, as I mentioned it, number one is the skin. What does skin do? Automatically, when you are bathing, the water does not enter into our body, because the skin will be acting as a barrier, not water to enter into our body. Some of microorganisms, they can be on the skin, but they don't penetrate into the skin. So the skin creates a physical barrier that protects the cells inside the body against the entrance of pathogens. So the skin will be the first line of defense, and I said it creates a physical barrier that protects the cells, because inside the skin there are very many cells. Barrier that protects the cells inside the body against the entrance of pathogen, disease-causing agents. We have the nose. I think every person has the nose. And I know some of you, when you get your finger and touches into your nose, there is something which is like a mucus. And once the bacteria enters into the nose, they can be easily be trapped by the mucus secreted by the nose. And because the air, we normally inhale air, we can inhale air that is contaminated. We have some hair that are found in the nose, which can be easily trap dusts, and eventually that is a line of defense. Because I said nose, and the passages leads to the lungs are lined with cells that produce sticky fluid called mucus that traps the invading microbes and even dust, as I mentioned it earlier. The tiny hairs called the cilia, they're ever beating, and once they beat, they release the mucus from the trachea to the esophagus to trap the dust and even to trap some of the microorganisms that are trying to enter into our respiratory system. They can move back and forth in a wave-like motion. They do what you call wave-like motion, able to do wave-like motions and trap some dust and even some of the bacteria that are entering into the eye. And even not even the eye, entering into the respiratory system. Let's have the diagram. These are the cilia that are lining in the nasal passages. You can try to see. These are cilia. Cilia are thread-like structures. They always keep beating, and once they beat, they can trap the dust. We have here on the diagram, we have the flow of the mucus carrying a trapped dust, and even the germs. These are the germ that has been trapped, and even dust has been trapped. We have mucus producing goblet cells, because mucus is normally produced by the goblet cells, and once mucus is produced, it is going to be acting as a first line of defense, able to trap dust and even some of the microorganisms or pathogens that are trying to enter into our respiratory system through the nasal passages. We have that diagram, we have what you call, we have ciliated epithelial cells. They are ciliated, they have cilias. These cilia are very important, trapping dust, trapping microorganisms or passages that are trying to enter into the respiratory system or the nasal passages. We have the stomacher. Stomacher also can also act as a line of defense. How does the stomacher act as a line of defense? All right? The stomach is very important because the stomacher produces an acid, which is, what is that acid I'm mentioning? The acid produced in the stomacher is called hydrochloric acid. That acid is produced in the stomacher. You can eat the food. In the previous lesson, I talked about food that is contaminated, water that is being contaminated. What happens once you take food that has been contaminated? Because the food can be contaminated when it has been in direct contact with these disease-causing agents. Take an example. The food is exposed in an open space. Flies can come and visit them, and the food becomes contaminated. Not only that, rodents, rats, cockroaches, flea, all these are disease-causing agents. They can come in contact with the food or water, and you find the water has been contaminated. And eventually, the person will take that water, and if you take that water or you eat that food, you find the food has been poisoned or has been contaminated. And now, once it goes into the stomach, there are some of the disease-causing agents in that food. Automatically, the first line of defense was to be in the mouth, but once it goes into the stomach, and maybe it has resisted the first line of defense. The second line of defense, which is hydrochloric acid found in the stomach, it is able to destroy many of microbes that enter the body in the food and drinks we take. So it means that this hydrochloric is very important in killing any microorganisms that are present in the food or that are present in the drinks we have taken. We have number 2. That was number 1. Number 2, tears that acts as a barrier to pathogens. I know some of you, when you cut an onion, some of the gas could enter into your eye, and the eye will start producing tears. That is acting as a line of defense, preventing that chemical substance produced by the onion not enter into our body. Some of the insects can enter into the eye and release some chemical substance. So the tear will act as a barrier to the pathogen. Tears are watery secretion produced by the tear glands located in the outer ear. They contain a powerful enzymes. These tears are very important because they contain a powerful enzymes that can digest and break down harmless substances. So these harmless substances can be broken down by the tears because it contains enzymes. And I know some of you, when I mention about the word enzyme, it is not your first time to hear the word enzyme. Enzymes are biological catalysts. They can speed up or they can slow down the rate of chemical reaction in the body. They can also facilitate indigestion. So breaking these substances is also a way of preventing the body against the infections or against the pathogens. We have clotting of the blood that occurs when an open cut or a wound exposes a blood to air. When it is exposed to a blood to air, such a cut causes a break in the skin and exposing the body to harmful microorganisms. So this is what you call clotting of the blood. We try to prevent any microorganism to enter into the body. So when a clot forms, it seals the opening and enables the wound to heal. We have now going to go to the second line of defense. We've been discussing about the first line of defense. We talked about the skin. We talked about the nose. We talked about the clotting of the blood. Those are the first line of defense the body does in order to prevent the entry of any microorganism into our body or any pathogen into our body. The body's second line of defense, when the pathogens are able to get past the first line of defense, it has got a chance of passing the first line of defense. The first line of defense has not blocked the pathogen not to enter into the body. So, for example, through a cut in the skin, you've cut yourself with a knife when maybe you are peeling a banana or peeling Irish potato, you cut your skin and it has been exposed outside. And eventually, the microorganisms are able to enter into our body. It has passed on the first line of defense. So this prompts the second line of defense. This one will prompt the second line of defense. To become active, and this happens through a sequence of steps called what we call immune system. That one will bring what we call immune system. That's why we are going to bring what we call white blood cells and even antibodies. The immune system attacks the pathogen now because it has passed on the first line of defense. The body has a range of defense mechanisms that operate to prevent or destroy the pathogen. These responses only react to the presence of any pathogen or foreign material. Any invader, any invasion that has passed on the first line of defense, it is able to be attacked by immune system. That's why we talk about white blood cells. Phagocytes are adapted to fight these disease-causing agents or microorganisms in the following ways. Number one, there's what we call, they move by amoebic action, how amoeba moves. And they send out the cell extension called what we call pseudopodia, which allows them to surround and invade microorganisms. This is a disease-causing agent. This is the white blood cells is able to surround and engulf. These are called pseudopodia. This is a disease-causing agent. This is a person able to surround and engulf the invading microorganisms and engulf them. Phagocytes, not only that, they do release digestive enzyme. These digestive enzymes, they are enzymes to break down the trapped microorganisms before they can do any harm. They invade them, they surround them, and after they produce some enzymes, they destroy the pathogens before they can cause a harm to the body. And that process is referred to as phagocytosis. Phagocytosis is the process of engulfing and surrounding and producing the enzyme to destroy the invading microorganisms before destroying our body cells, before destroying our body system. This is a diagram that tries to show the phagocytosis. This is a bacteria. These are white blood cells. These are pseudopodia. They are engulfing the bacteria. You see on that diagram being engulfed. The bacteria are digested by the enzymes, and the food particles are released from the bacteria. After now, they're going to be released from the bacteria. And that process is referred to as phagocytosis in white blood cells. Let's talk about immune system. As I talked about, the immune system is the ability of an organism to resist a particular infections or toxins by the action of specific antibodies or some of the white blood cells. Then antibodies, what is our antibodies? These are proteins produced by the body immune system when it detects harmful substances. Take an example. Once the body detects these harmful substances, the body is able to produce what we call antibodies. And the antibodies are triggered, are released when the antigens has been produced. Antigens are examples of antigens, including microorganisms, such as bacteria, fungi, parasites, viruses, chemicals, and etc. Antibodies detects and neutralizes the antigens by binding to them, because antigens and antibodies must be able to bind together. They are able to bind together in a way so that antigens and antibodies, they are like enzymes and a substrate. So after binding with them, they're able to destroy it. This signals the production of other cells of immune system to get rid, to invade the microorganism before spreading to and attacks other body parts. We have types of immunity. That's why I'm going to talk about immunity. We have active immunity. Under active immunity, we have natural and artificial. Under passive, we have natural passive immunity and active passive immunity. This one involves what you call infections. This one involves what you call vaccination, where in young babies, they do what you call vaccination. And here we have maternal antibodies. So let's talk about the natural immunity. It comes from that is inborn immunity. You are born with. So the immune system, the natural immune system, that is a type of immune system that a person is born with. Under this, we have active natural immune system that may develop after recovering from the disease. I've been suffering from the disease. The body has tried all the means to defend itself against the disease. And that one that is developed after recovering, that one is referred to as active immune system. We have, and it makes the organism immune system to invade microorganisms. If some of the gets, take an example like measles and etc. We have passive immune system, which is got from vaccination. That is immune system acquired by the fetus from the mother. You acquire, that is passive. You get the immune system from the mother. Passive immunity, you get it from the mother. Through the placenta and also through the breast milk. That's why you have to breastfeed your young babies. We have artificial immunity, which is obtained by introducing antigens into the body and protect organisms. We have active artificial immunity. This is induced or introduced into the body of an organism through use of vaccination. Young babies, they do what you call vaccination. So when you talk about artificial immune system, it is obtained by introducing antigens into the body of an organism to protect against from disease. That is to say, when you get antigens in that way, you're able to get what you call artificial immunity. Then active artificial immunity, this is induced by vaccination. Young babies that have to be vaccinated. We have a lesson assessment. So try to go through the lesson assessment. And the next lesson, we're going to see how we're going to do. Thank you very much for being with me. See you next time, and enjoy the rest of the day.